then you potentially shoot somebody over the other ship, and then he jumped off to go get back to his own ship, and then he got eaten by a shark, and that's kind of how it ended.
That's his life.
A fantastic game. So if you guys, after this, get a chance, look up Sea of Thieves and see how much fun and the potential behind that game. Hands down, my favorite of the games that they show.
Yeah, I think that's a contender for us.
Definitely
in terms of Xbox Game of Show, I think that's a contender. What else you got? What other notes you have here?
Well, one of the games that we did, I would say, let's go over the games that we did get right.
Yeah.
I mean, we were right on the Forza. We were right on...
Forza looked great. I mean, as expected, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks exactly what we were expecting. Just absolutely fantastic.
Car porn.
Yes, car porn.
Yeah.
That's what you called it.
So fucking good. Yep.
But the other two games that we actually guessed, and they looked pretty good, Crackdown 3 and Creed, Assassin's Creed, or as I wrote, Ass Creed. So
good old Ass Creed. Yep.
Ass and Creed.
Your shorthand for this was Ass Creed. That's right.
But it was in Egypt.
Assassin's Creed, it looked awesome, but I will say it looked exactly like every Assassin's Creed game that's ever happened.
The gameplay looked... I was like,
they added an eagle drone.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was like, how is this eagle? He's like, go find me him. I was like, how is the eagle communicating this to you? But who cares? It's a video game. But it just looked like the exact same gameplay you've always loved or hated, depending on whether you like the series.
Yep.
But it is kind of neat. You're not seeing another Paris or European city. You're seeing Egypt, and it looks really, really amazing. Crackdown 3, again, Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
They did a little intro with that.
From Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the Old Spice guy. Yep.
Yeah, and so that looked... I mean, that was just a fun game. And
it's coming out this year, right?
Yep. But I think the only one thing is it was just kind of a quick... a bunch of quick shots. So I didn't...
No actual gameplay.
Yeah, you didn't really get to see some real distinct gameplay.
Yeah.
But it still... was fun to see.
We saw people jumping from building to building, which at least lets you believe it's like the Crackdown that we know and love.
Yeah.
You know. Cool. Any other big ones? Oh, I have Shadow of War written down. Mm-hmm. I was a really big fan of Shadow of... What was the other one?
Mordor. Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun playing that game. Like, a lot of fun playing that game. More than I expected to. The only reason I ever picked it up was because critically it was getting just absolutely praised. And, like, you can't miss this game. And it's really fun. And they have a really cool system called the Nemesis system, which is essentially, if you haven't played the game, really briefly... If you go and do a mission and you get killed by some NPC, some random, like, orc, that orc then moves up the army because he is the one responsible for killing you. So when you regenerate and you go randomly run across that orc again, he'll call you out and be like, hey, you're the one that, like, is the reason for my promotion, or, like, talk shit to you. Or
he's now better armor, more minions.
Yeah, exactly. He's got better armor, more minions, and then, like... harder to kill, and so by the time you actually kill him, you're like, fuck, I just beat my rival, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it looked like in this game, like, they took it to the next level by just adding, like, another layer of voice acting to it, where it's like in the demo that they showed tonight, like, you actually mind melded with some, like, Vulcan mind melded with somebody.
That's exactly what it looked like.
And, like, took him over, and then, like, the, like, back and forth between you and that orc was, like, really natural sounding, and I hope that that's indicative of, like, the final product. Like, it was really cool. It felt like a movie, the way that you were talking back and forth, and the voice acting was perfect and really great. So, you know, I thought that was a cool step forward for that series, if that's what they end up doing.
And I don't think they had this gameplay in the Shadow of Mordor. I heard amazing things. I never played it, mainly because I'm just not a Lord of the Rings fan, but I was tempted. But, like, the shading fight style, so, like, he was fighting, then he could shade his body, I guess, into the future. You can still fight who you're fighting, but your shade would fight somebody else, and then you would become that. Yep. I don't know. It kind of seemed like that kind.
Yep.
Curious on how well that works.
Yeah.
It seemed to work well, but you never know. But
they had a good showing of third-party games. You know, it wasn't just that one. They did a great job.
I got one other one that I wrote down.
Yep.
And for those that play, like, Steam and a lot of indie games, this was called Deep Rock. And I played an indie game that was, when I played it, was an alpha stage.
Oh, you called this out during the show. Okay.
Yeah, it was in the alpha stage, so it was extremely buggy, and I was, like, sending bug notes and everything, but it was called Astroneer.
You send bug notes?
Yeah.
Good for you. That's
and
awesome.
it was called Astroneer, and you landed on a planet, and you had to slowly build. You were a little astronaut guy, and you had to always be tethered to your ship with oxygen. You create tethers, and you would create research bays and get new things, and then you would go into caves and stuff. Well, it was very similar graphics. And very similar gameplay where they had like a little gun that would suck out the resources from the ground. But there was 4 of them, four people playing, and they all had different looks and seemed to have different abilities. And then they were getting attacked by aliens.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a really fun indie game, but it seemed like very, very similar to Astroneer. Astroneer had no other living creatures on the planet. It was a dead planet. It was just you trying to survive. But it was also, again, in the alpha stage. I haven't played it for a while. But that was a game I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm curious on how that works. And then I guess the final one was the oh shit moment at the very end.
Yeah, Anthem.
Yeah, Anthem. So if you can get a chance, watch
shit.
The Anthem video game gameplay trailer that they had at the end of the Microsoft conference, because I don't. Brogan and I just sat there with our mouths open, just saying like that can't be real.
We were watching it on a 1080p TV. I'm sure it looks even better on a 4K TV. Like that was like absolutely stunning. From the first person, it looked like the game world.
Yeah.
Before you actually like jump in and go play, you're in like some sort of village. Javelin. Before you get in your javelin, you're walking around this world with like hyper realistic graphics, and it looked like. You know, in most games where you like walk up to an NPC and that triggers like a cutscene or like a conversation piece, it looked really natural where the person just sort of like leans in and says like, "Hey, I got to talk to you." You know.
And that one thing, when it started, and the guy was like in this small village or something, right before he walked forward, and somebody interrupted and had a conversation. There was an awning. I mean, there was just so much detail, and I stood up and I was like, "Look at the awning, like the cloth on the awning."
Just the way the cloth was moving.
Just that little cloth, the way it was moving, the details and the tears in it, because it was like run down. And I was like, just look at the texture in that one little piece of clothing or cloth, and compare that to everything we saw. And then they went into a jungle, and I'm like, think of the level of texture and ability on that one cloth. And apply that to an entire jungle.
The way that they were like rocketeered into that jungle, though, too, it was so fucking cool.
It was funny because like, so they're standing on a cliff, and it was 2 players, a female player and a javelin that was kind of like all around one, and then there was a bigger guy that seemed to be like slower but more powerful. And they're standing on this cliff, and I was like, oh, they're just gonna jump down and land like in an area, and she just jumps off. And then
hits the boosters.
Slowly hits the booster and just starts flying. And the way it flies is kind of like Iron Man. You know, you would see in
there was definitely themes of Iron Man throughout.
Very, very Iron Man abilities. Like imagine you're a bunch of Iron Mans, and Brogan just was like, "Holy shit!" It was so funny the way you said it. It was an absolutely fantastic game. One thing about it is cross platform. So those of you guys who don't play Xbox. You will be able to play this game on PlayStation. Probably not Switch, though. I would doubt.
No way.
There's no way.
No way they have the processing power.
Yeah, but I mean, you will be able to play it on both systems and most likely PC. But it does absolutely look fantastic.
And it's so BioWare. Like they had the ability to find like these really cool, intimate moments to make their game so good. And I love, and this is so simple, such a simple idea. I should say, the way that when you're like traveling around the game world in this village, it's in first person, and it feels like really intimate, really close, and like you get to see all these people sort of look at you as you walk by, and like sort of the way you felt when you saw the first Assassin's Creed trailer, when you're walking through a crowd and like you're pushing your way through, and you feel like you're part of that world instead of like that world is just like in the background for you to run by. You actually felt like you're part of it. And then, like, when you're in this big, badass mech suit, instead of being in, like, a first-person view, you get to see it. Because, like, I'm sure there's, like, a whole upgrade system, and you're going to, like, have all these different javelins.
Yeah, remember at the end, she got a new rifle.
And you're going to have all these different javelins and all these different, like, abilities and stuff like that. So you want to see it. You want to see the fruits of your labor, the fruits of your grinding, you know, as it were. And so you're going to be able to see that. And, like... You know, the way that it like flips to third person once you get into this javelin somehow seems really natural. Like it seems like that's what should happen because you're like an extension of this thing now and not just yourself. I think it looks incredible. I think BioWare, like, it almost like...
It seems like they gave up on their other games.
Mass Effect,
that's
4
why,
is like a perfect example where it was just like, you know what, we've got this thing in the hopper. We're going to pass this off to you guys. You guys go ahead and like do this whole Mass Effect thing. We're going to focus on making this badass new IP.
Yeah, and do you guys, and for those of you who've seen like Iron Man 3, remember at the end when he brings out 40 Iron Man suits and they all look different, and one was like, hulky, and then other ones had abilities to split up. So at the end of this Anthem trailer, there was 2 of them you watched the whole time, and they were like gameplay from them fighting, and it was actual gameplay. And then 2 others, they finished a quest and they were about to start another one, and they're like, "No, we can't do this by ourselves. We need to bring in friends." So 2 other guys basically landed there, and their suits look drastically
so different.
Like way they
one
flew.
Was a tank, and one was like super agile.
Yeah, like an agile. Like he flew by like standing straight, like a magic dude. More of magical, I guess, kind of thing. And it just looked absolutely fantastic. And they just like jumped into the storm, and that was the end of it. But I mean, if you just think Iron Man suit, because they had this one guy, like he shot a javelin in the air or a mortar in the air and blew up a whole group of guys. And then there was guys coming in, and he tagged them all, and then shot rockets in the air, and they came down kind of like in Iron Man 1 with that missile at the beginning that he sold. It was like the Jericho missile, kind of looked like that. Absolutely fantastic game. Well, it was way they ended. I mean, as soon as that trailer ended, it was the Microsoft conference was over, and it was just beautiful.
Some of your favorite games that are going to be within a free update, backwards compatible that's not the right term. Have the 4K resolution upgrade for Xbox One X. And they showed Gears of War. They showed Forza.
Like Assassin's Creed, I think.
They showed Halo Wars 2.
Yeah.
And it's like they did not show Halo 5. Like, why wouldn't you make that backwards compatible, or, backwards 4K? For those people who are gonna maybe switch over to Xbox because of this Xbox One X, the number one game they're gonna want to play is Halo. So
I think it's not just the Halo thing that's disappointing. So here's the one thing, Microsoft, they just announced 42 games, 22 exclusives.
Yep.
A bunch of really good looking games, a bunch of games that I would like, a bunch of games that I think a lot of people would like. But they ended on a fantastic, amazing game, but cross-platform. So they didn't have an oh wow, oh shit, oh my god exclusive. I mean, they had a bunch of exclusives.
Yep, a bunch of great-looking games too.
Not a Halo, not an ODST, not a Splinter Cell. I think they just fell on Assassin's Creed was their oh shit. But is that exclusive? That is exclusive?
No,
it's not.
Assassin's Creed will be cross.
So they didn't have an oh shit, oh my god, I can't believe that they just announced this game, or they just showed a sequel to this game that blew my mind. I mean, they don't have a lot. I mean, Xbox does not have a lot of oh shit games, and they didn't show one of them.
They did show a couple of new IPs that look like they could be really cool, like Sea of Thieves and stuff like that, where you're like, wow, this is a really cool thing. But you have to, at least, when you launch a new console, you got to give the people what they want. Yeah. And Forza is... Am I wrong in saying Forza is niche? Like, it's like for a group of people who really like racing games?
It just serves a purpose.
It's a simulator.
It just serves a purpose of showing off the graphics.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think that game would be as popular as if it wasn't for the graphics, because the gameplay is fun, but it's not Halo, it's not Splinter Cell, it's not Gears of War.
It's a racing simulator.
It's a fucking racing game.
Yeah.
It's not even Mario Kart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or like Burnout. It's like you have to hit all the way down on your brake to make a turn. Yeah. That's not that fun.
Yeah, and so they didn't have that. They ended on an amazing game that was an oh wow and oh shit game, but nothing
But
exclusive.
cross-platform.
But cross-platform.
They had their
They
whole
stole
show.
the thunder. They stole the thunder from the other conferences because they're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
But or at least with Anthem, they'll have to do it with something else. But they still don't have Halo. They didn't have something that's going to compete against Uncharted or something else that Sony's going to throw out there as a big oh shit game at the very end.
Yeah, I don't want to say it like negated what